every state's main import partners, or the largest commercial importers of individual states in the United States. So this is obviously partially going to have to do all with geography. If you border Canada, likely your biggest import partner will be Canada. And if you border Mexico, your biggest import partner will likely be Mexico. However, crazy to see how much China has really surpassed a lot of places, like especially with California and actually Nevada too. Nevada isn't even a coastal state. I mean, I get a lot of like cargo coming into San Francisco and LA from China. Dang, China even is the major one in Nevada. Utah still has Mexico. Deep behind enemy lines, you would definitely think New Mexico's biggest import partner would be Mexico, but no, it is China as well. The loyalty to Canada up in these northern states, it goes strong up until you get to Minnesota, Wisconsin. What does Michigan love out of that's crazy, especially considering this is a border state to Canada. They really love just avocados. Avocados is like one of, is it now, I think Mexico's biggest export? Can't escape the avocados from Mexico commercial. Yeah, I mean, avocados are literally known as green gold. Mexico's the world's largest exporter of avocados. Random one here, their number one import partner out of Louisiana is Russia. What does Louisiana love in Russia? I'm trying to think what that is. Gas? Another crazy one. I'm not surprised to see Japan out of Hawaii, but to not see Japan also in Alaska too. Insane that South Korea is beating out Japan in Alaska. They're all so close together, man. What the heck? Interesting to see Germany top in both the Carolinas. Germany also here in Maryland and in Rhode Island. Indiana be loving Ireland apparently. It's not for the potatoes. I'm guessing it's the pharmaceuticals. And then the Swiss in New York. Is this just like all their fancy products? They love Swiss Army knives, maybe fancy designer stuff. The only thing I can think of. Or maybe a good amount of people in Indiana love Guinness and carry gold, and maybe that too. These are the number one exports out of Switzerland and into the US. It is pharmaceutical products, also pearls, precious metals, stones, clocks, watches. So New York is probably getting some of this stuff. I know the Carolinas have a huge BMW plant. Oh, that explains that. Louisiana has large oil refineries. My best guess is it has something to do with that. That's why Russia's number one with them. Oh, it has something to do with like the American car industry, because so many factories, Ford and Chevy, they're now building their cars in Mexico. Top English slang words in the US and which region uses them the most? Oh, he tweaking. So the word tweaking actually stretches all the way through the Mississippi, straight up to Chicago, all the way down to Louisiana, and it's also pretty well spread out through the deep south and all the way up to Virginia. I use the word tweaking, but it doesn't compare here to California. Obviously, we use the word, but not quite to the same extent as this region. Next up, we got wicked. Of course, that's just New England. Wicked, God. That's the only thing I could think of. I feel like the context of these states using the word wicked is quite different. I can only hear it with like the Bostonian accent. Next up, homies. I actually had no idea that homies isn't just like thoroughly used throughout the states. Apparently, you guys don't like the word homies quite as much. It's mainly a California thing, which is probably why I say it in videos. I thought it was like so popular now to say. Georgia's pretty high with their rate of homies, so is South Carolina, so is North Carolina, even Virginia. And then it really drops off in the New England area, Northeast, the Midwest, but it stretches pretty high up. I think this map shows why I'm a little surprised, because this whole region is big homie lovers. That sounds a little strange. Ah, shoddy. And it's literally just the deep south, but it does stretch all the way up to New York. A big part is New Jersey. We definitely use shoddy in California. Maybe not to the same extent. I've never used it. In fact, that's probably the first time I've ever said shoddy. There's no way it's that deep of blue. Like, the shoddy is a pretty big word. It's been around for a minute. Where there's shoddy and now there's shorty. That's also just kind of big. It's used up here. Wow. Look at the difference. Like, the more north you go, the more they're likely to say shorty. Wow. Also, a lot less dark blue. We're more of a shorty. Look at the panhandle of Oklahoma. Look at this weird encirclement of shorty. The word finna. I'm finna crash out. When are we gonna get a map for crash out? That's a term I've seen people use more and more here in California. For some reason, finna is not stretching all the way down through Florida. It's only in the north. It's only in like the deep south, weirdly. I guess there's like some light blue here in California. I've definitely heard a lot of finna. Now, this isn't dog. This is dog. So I think that's kind of the difference. Wow, Michigan. And just this region of Michigan, really. Again, stretching out of the deep south. Seems like the deep south is like the cultural spawn point for so much of this stuff, for so much of the English language. All right, well, who's not using this word in 2025? This usage is so rampant. I feel like this map doesn't even do it justice. How often are they saying the word cringe in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont? Is every other sentence, does it have the word cringe? Because I'd be surprised. How could you be beat out so many of these other states. I say cringe probably at least once a day. I'm cringe. You know, I hate to admit it, but I've been using hella more and more. That word has been around for a while, and for the longest time, actually for my whole life, I've refused to use it. I feel like there's been a revamp of the word hella now, maybe because it does stretch all the way to Missouri and Illinois. I feel like hella doesn't have the same connotation as it did definitely 15 years ago. Honestly, I don't even know what this word is. Maybe that's because I'm old. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I actually stopped saying tight. I feel like I barely hear this anymore. There are still pockets that are tight, not quite as much though. Finally, a more recent slang term, dead ass. And apparently dead ass is, well, it's dead ass only being used in the Northeast. Is this where it started from? Is it just here that likes it? I mean, the whole, I think a lot of people are using it now. Light blue shows that everyone's kind of using it, but y'all are really using it. The Western homies versus the Eastern shotties. I can't even say that word correctly, I think. WTF is fi. That's supposed to be fire, I guess? A lot of these are just standard Southern U.S. dialect that is considered slang because of its exposure to the rest of the U.S. through rap or hella tight signed a Californian Valley girl. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's changed though. Tight, tight, tight. Kind of funny that shoddy and shorty are both listed. Tight in New York City means pissed off or mad. Does West Coast use it the same way? No. I need crash out. We gotta have a crash out map. Can't tell you how many top 10 favorite crash out videos I've watched. This is how bad things have got. The fertility rate in Europe. Such a big topic, and this topic is not gonna go anywhere, but man, does this map really show how bad it really is. First of all, there's two places often mentioned when it comes to fertility rate. One is South Korea, and the other one is Italy. Italy is at 1.18. To be at replacement level, you need to be at 2. So one man and one woman need to have 2 children so that they replace themselves when they inevitably die one day. 1.9 is not good. I mean, that's still trending downward. But we're seeing so many countries with less than 1.9, in fact, less than 1.5 even. Ukraine's in a whole different situation. This is not necessarily due to fertility. We all know what's going on in Ukraine. That's more of the war. I'm sure that's probably bringing down Russian numbers as well, but Russia's been dealing with like demographic issues for a while now. I remember when Putin was like trying to tell Russian women to will do their thing. France is trying so hard to keep it up. They are only at 1.6 though, after everything they've done. Also Germany, 1.3. Also the UK at 1.4. Anything under 1.5 is an insufficient rate. The only green part in all of this map is Kosovo. Unbelievably Kosovo. Look at, I mean, the Balkans really, they're trying their best to hold the team together, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Moldova too. This map is actually showing that Poland is less than Italy. And again, the situation gets so much worse when you look at places like China, South Korea, and Japan. South Korea is literally below 1, and they were below 1 back in 2022. I bet they're at like almost 0.6 or 0.5. Not even 250,000 babies were born in South Korea last year. This is a nation with 51 million people in it. That is so insane. I mean, even Japan, I feel like Japan was like the flag bearer of this situation. Shinzo Abe, the former prime minister, telling the Japanese people to stop watching anime and start families instead. But they're not even doing that bad compared to some of these other places. Well, they are doing bad though. And these numbers also show why many people don't consider China to be much of a threat anymore to the US, and that they're basically dead. There will no longer be over 1 billion Chinese people in the turn of the century. Unbelievable, looks irreversible. Korea's birth rate improved markedly in the past year, from apocalyptic all the way up to demographic collapse. What? That's something. I'm from the Netherlands and I have 3 kids. I'm doing my part. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Someone's got to do it. The second most common native languages in Europe. Keyword obviously is second here, but there's a lot of interesting second languages. First of all, in Spain, obviously the number 1 is Spanish, but number 2 is Catalan, which is not surprising, but it kind of is. It's because there's only 10 million people that speak Catalonian. I don't even know what that is out of Portugal. Okay, France. Out of Italy, it is Sardinian, of course, that island that they have in the Mediterranean. Swiss speak a couple different languages. So does Belgium, Turkish, and Germany. Scots in the UK, meanwhile, Irish, that is not a very big language. It's kind of dying, but I'm glad it's still going. English out of Denmark and Norway, Arabic out of Sweden, and Swedish in Finland. Serbian is the top language in Austria. Croatian and Slovenian, not surprising there. Then Serbian in Croatia, and Serbian in Bosnia. Look at how much Hungarian is being... Oh, well, there's a lot of history behind that. Albanian in Greece. Oh, and a whole lot of Kurdish in Turkey, Syria. Man, this map is controversial as hell. There's a lot to talk about here. I'm afraid to look at this comment section. Tartar and Russian. Belarusian is the second language in Belarus. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that is a giant Tartar. Bengali for Saudi Arabia is crazy. That is what I'm saying. This map is actually nuts. There is so much going on here. Oh, wow. Serbian in Croatia and Bosnia as if it's not the same language as Croatian and Bosnian. Oh, I thought Welsh would be the second most common in Great Britain. Isn't it a painful sight? Ireland's mother tongue, Ireland's second language. We saw that a couple times, also in Kazakhstan. Austria-Hungary says hello. Can you shop in a supermarket on Sunday? Are grocery stores in other countries like Chick-fil-A? I wonder how people still show up and forget about this though. Apparently in countries like Germany, Belgium, Switzerland, Austria, a lot of supermarkets are closed on that day. That's insane to me. Isn't that shopping day? I always go Sundays. There's places like Spain, France, Italy where it's partially closed, depending on the region. I mean, that's fine, I guess, as long as I have some option. But man, these red countries, like you too, Poland, you too, Slovenia. What if I'm starving? What am I gonna do? In England, the supermarkets are opened, but on Sundays, they do close early. Same for Wales and Northern Ireland. I wonder why just Scotland doesn't follow this. The vast majority of Eastern Europe, also a lot of the Nordics, except for Norway, and then Portugal. Portugal is the outlier. They're always the outlier. I don't understand why it would be closed. For many people, Saturday and Sunday are the only times they can shop. That's what I was thinking. In Sweden, it was long considered unethical to force employees to work late evenings and weekends. In Germany, all shops are closed on Sunday. Pretty much only restaurants are open. Gas station quick shops are the only places you can usually get any sort of fresh food. Oh, this is actually insane to me. I don't know for sure, but I feel like the vast majority of Americans do their grocery shopping on Sunday. So if you work a 5-day week and you have plans on Saturday, you're just screwed for the rest of the week because you're not gonna be able to pick it up on Sunday. I mean, everything else is fine. Like I said, France, Italy, Spain, at least, you know, there are options. Also, it's fine that it closes early here in this part of the region. But man, these red countries, that's so tough. Interesting to see places like Netherlands and Czechia, even Denmark as the outliers here. Just regionally, they are pretty similar to their neighbors, but not in this instance. Sundays are protected by the Constitution in Germany. Dang, this is a tough one. I get where they're coming from, but what about everybody else? That's what I'm thinking about the people that need to shop on Sundays. Maybe they have more days out. Are they doing only 4-day work weeks and Sundays, so then you have Friday and Saturday to do your grocery shopping? I don't think that's the case, but I know other European countries only do like 4-day work weeks. Do you think the election of Donald Trump as US president is a good thing or bad thing for your country? India overwhelmingly saying it is a good thing at 84%. Then 10% said they didn't know, so there's really not much room. Like 6% say it's bad. India's got 1 billion people, I might remind you to. Saudi Arabia also saying it's a good thing at 61%. To be fair, 30% say they don't know, only 10% say it's bad. 49% of Russians, so almost half. Man, that's crazy that almost the same amount said they don't know yet. Crazy that China, 46% say it's a good thing. What? Okay, this is really interesting because again, if in the US, the way we hear news is only shaped with like an American perspective. So what was going on in China over the course of the last 4 years under Joe Biden, where they're saying, yes, Trump will be better than Biden? I'm assuming that's what a majority of these people are probably comparing it to. Basically, the last 4 years under Joe Biden versus possibly what's going to happen under Trump. 18% of Chinese people said it's going to be bad. We are under the 50 percentile range, so we have Brazil at 43%, South Africa at 36%, Turkey at 35%, Indonesia at 30%. Whole lot of I don't knows. At least over a third here. Ukraine is only a quarter saying it's going to be good. Over 55% say they don't know, and then 20% say it's going to be bad. The only countries with a majority bad are the UK, 54%. Only 15% saying it's going to be good. And then weirdly, South Korea. Again, I want to know what was going on in South Korea the last 4 years where they are so overwhelmingly like, this is definitely going to be bad. Was Joe Biden providing a lot of support, or is there some sort of coverage, something about Trump that they really don't like? Also, what do they really like in India? Like, what is it? I got a lot of questions, and again, our American media doesn't talk about the perspective of other countries at all, really. Considering border proximity, I wish we could see countries like Canada and Mexico on this chart. Interestingly, India also had favorable views of the USA under Biden as well. So maybe the Indians are just really US pilled right now for whatever reason. Like, it's really high. This person saying, I'm South Korean and this election is a disaster. It will make China so much more influential over the economy and hurt our exports. Here's the same data visualized in a slightly different way. Really wish we knew which 11 countries were polled here in the EU. I'm guessing one of them had to be Germany, also France. I really didn't expect to see South Korea though at the bottom of this list out of all of them. And a big old thanks to my patrons. I stole Drew Durnil's Robux and won't return them until he plays cart ride into Drew Durnil. Alexander the Argentinian Grandpa. I'm back, boys. aPhatNarwhal. Connor, I will literally revive DOOCHBAGGINS. If Drew doesn't realize Imperial Japan flag is the same as modern Japan flag. NordTyrol. Tambre, the Mexican 760. ZaneyBoi.